How do you know when your website is old and outdated and no longer getting you results? Let's find out. Hey guys, this is Zach.
Hey guys, this is Mike.
And we're of course both from Yas, and today we're going to be going over the 9 signs that your website is out of date. Now, the first 6 are actually they all fall under the category of Google Friendliness, and that kind of touches on your SEO. The other 3 are a little bit different, and we'll get to those ones of course later. So let's start off with number 1, which is your client journey. Now, when you're thinking of your client journey, what Google is looking for is how many people are getting to your website and actually interacting with what you have. They're not getting there and bouncing, they're not getting there realizing that your product is wrong and then leaving. What you're really looking for here is that Google wants to know when they send somebody to your website that was a good choice for them. So the more time people spend on your website, the more they do click, interact, the better off you're going to look in Google's eyes. And with many outdated websites, people just don't have a lot of reason to stay.
All right, number 2 is ease of use. So lots of times when people get to your website, the first thing they need to know is what you do and who you are. So many websites have bad introductions. You get to your website and you're trying to sell you something before they even understand what you do and who you are. So super important to explain what you do right away and who you are. That will help with your client journey and your Google friendliness. Second point on that is just bad navigation. If people can't quickly find what they're looking for when they get to your site, that's not good. People want to be able to find what they want right away. So if it's not in the top menu or easily found as a button on the homepage, that's bad, and you're going to want to look at that to improve your website for sure.
The third point is your personality and relatability. Now this applies kind of to the one that I already talked about with bounce rate, where somebody's getting to your website, they don't want to see an encyclopedia of information. They want to see big blocks of text that just, it's become a chore for people. So what they want to do is get there, like Mike mentioned, get to know who you are really quickly and then be able to go through your content. Now, as they're going through your content, and keep in mind, people don't want to spend much time going through content, so you have to really make it interesting to them. And one of the best ways to do that is with personality and relatability. So if I'm going to your website and I go to your About page, it's not so much important to me that you started in 1986. That's great and important for building your authority, but what I want to read is what you get excited about. So why did you get into this line of business? Why do you do what you do? The more you're excited about what you're talking about, the more we're going to get excited about what you're talking about. And again, to tie into the first point, the more interested we are and you're keeping us as we look through your website, the longer we're going to stay on, the better you look in Google's eyes.
Next is load times. Your website needs to load quickly if people are going to stick around. If your website is taking too long to load, they're just going to hit back and go to the next Google search result. So this is really important for Google. Google wants to look good to its customers. So when they present websites in their organic list, you want to be on that list, and to do that you need a good load time. So there's some technical things you'll want to talk to your web developers about, improving your load time, and also be wary of your load time across both your mobile version of your website and your desktop version. Both of these are going to load differently, so make sure you check both and make sure both are loading quickly now, especially that Google is using your mobile website as indexing for your website.
Google seems to care more about that every single day.
Yes, they do.
Point number 5 is music and flash. Now, don't get me wrong, seeing interactive things like videos are becoming even more important than they've ever been. But think of the last time you went to a website that started playing music. Chances are you probably scrambled around for your volume, looked around the room. It didn't matter what that song was. You felt immediately embarrassed and you wanted to shut it down. It used to be the case that this would hurt you only because it would cause people to leave, but now Google is actually looking for these sorts of aspects and penalizing people that have them. So if your website makes sound that is not opt-in, get rid of it.
Next is mobile friendliness, number 6. So we touched on this a little bit with the load time point, and it's also important to make sure that your website is completely mobile friendly. What that means is that when people get to your website on their mobile phone, they're not having to pinch and zoom to read text or click on links. Google offers you a really cool, easy to use mobile friendly test. We can provide the link in our show notes to that, so you can check and see if your website is mobile friendly according to Google. But super important there to make your website easy to read, and like we mentioned earlier, that client journey really simple on a mobile device.
Now, like I mentioned, for these last 3, they don't really affect you in the eyes of Google per se, but they are things that will affect your client experience. So the first one, every time I talk about this, Mike knows very well, I come up with a different name for it. Today I guess I'm calling it the dreaded sidebars. So these are when you get to an older site, and I think the reason is because back when a lot of these sites were made, screens were less of the widescreen sort of deal and more of a square. What you're going to find is those big empty bars of space on either side, and crammed in between that is just a ton of text. There's very few things that actually bother me more from a design perspective than seeing these huge wastes of space. Now, I'm all for great uses of white space and not being overwhelming, but pinching everything into the middle like that just doesn't do it for a lot of people, and they will, in many cases, they're going to leave your website because of it.
Yeah, exactly. Those old websites are often boxed in the middle and just have tons of bad space. All right, moving on. Number 8 is bad or no calls to action on your website. So when people get to your website, unfortunately, you have to direct them around where they want to go. They don't know where they need to go. So as they're reading each page, present them with buttons and calls to action to what you want to do next. So if they're reading a section about your services, maybe you're listing a few, have a button to say, see all of our services, or click here to contact us about our services. Make sure that you're always directing your users where you want them to go on your website, so that they can take the action you want them to take at the end of the day. So make sure you take a look at your website. At the end of each page, make sure you're directing people to where you want them to go next.
All right, so that brings us to our last point. Number 9 is branding consistency. Now, pause this video and bring out your business card. I, of course, won't be able to see it because I'm on the other side of a video. But when you hold this up, what you should be seeing is the exact same thing that your website has. So you can see here I've got Yas in my logo. You can see right behind me I've got the exact same thing. Go to my website, you're going to find it. Any PDF, anything that you download from us is going to have this exact same brand consistency. The reason that this is so important is because people will never think that they're on a different page, and they'll never forget that they're on one of my pages when they're on my website. Whenever I'm talking about this, I always bring up the big dogs, Google and Apple. It doesn't matter what advertisement you've seen, it doesn't matter which of their pages you're on. Google has like tons of different products, and even though they're all different, they've got their own logos, their fonts, their spacing, everything is consistent, so you always have that feeling. And what that means for them is any feelings that you have about Google before you get to that page, you're going to apply to this new one. So you know that they always have that great customer experience when you're going through their pages, things are easy to find. You don't even need to give this new page a chance, you'll already feel like it is doing everything all the other pages are doing. So there you have it, that's all 9 points. If you checked off even a couple of these, you might want to reconsider, or you might want to consider getting yourself an updated website. Bottom line, what you don't want to be doing is missing out on leads, missing out on sales. Your website really is the hub for all of your marketing, and it's so important that however you get your website done, it's doing that for you. The worst thing that we've seen is people spending a bunch on marketing to take someone to a website that just doesn't convert. They got the problems that we talked about today, people get there, they don't like what they're seeing, and they go straight to your competitor. As always, I'm Zach, and this is Mike. I should probably let him introduce himself again.
I'm Mike.
I'm going to keep that in. And yeah, stay tuned for the next video, and we'll see you then.
See you next time.